everybody, welcome to the second installment of Experience This. I want to welcome my co-hosts, Christian Watts from Magpie and Lori Timoney from Insightful International. Between us, we have decades and decades of experience in the travel industry in general, and now in the experiences industry. What is Experience.This? You might be asking yourself. And the way I look at it, and I can hear what Christian and Lori say about it, but I'm thinking of this as basically a hybrid of Clubhouse that Christian did for a few, I guess, months, trying to make that go. YouTube, where we're going to host these videos that we create. LinkedIn, where we also want to host these so we can get engagement and comments, and put that all together, turn it into a podcast as well, and call it Experience.This. Lori, what's your point of view? What do you think? Say hello to the crowd.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be a part of this. And I think this is going to be a time when I have to just be very careful about what I say, but not too careful, because we want to be very honest in our conversation. No, I'm looking forward to talking about all things experiences, but also bringing in the wider travel industry into the conversation, because that's an important part of who we are. Yeah, just having some fun with it. Christian?
Yeah, I think these conversations, they're great. They happen at Arrival, but they don't so much happen at all the other travel conferences, because they get dominated by hotels and air and everything else. So I think this is kind of fills the gaps. There isn't a place right now where these conversations happen between conferences, and there's lots of things that are coming up every week. So it's a chance to discuss things that are coming up. It's a place to bring those subjects to the masses, hopefully.
The masses, exactly.
And get the masses to talk back, right? That's part of the whole piece of this, is the idea that you got something to say, you message us, you jump on, and so there's a conversation that happens here versus just us talking.
Exactly, and that's the Clubhouse element that we plan to create. We need to spend a little more time building this up, but the idea is we'll bring in guests, and we do have 2 guests today that we will be bringing in very shortly. And we also want to have kind of a peanut gallery, if you will, where people can be watching, because we're recording on Zoom, or soon we might be live streaming on Zoom. They can raise their hand and they can join the conversation as well. So that's some of the ideas we have. Today, the feature is Get Your Guide Originals and Get Your Guide's decision to close down Originals for the time being. We think that's super interesting. We have a lot of different perspectives on it. And we have some guests that are going to come, 2 different operators that also have their perspectives on it. Anything you want to share in that intro, either Lori or Christian, or should we just get on with the show with our guests?
Is that the official intro you want to do? Get Your Guide and made the decision to shut it down? Is that your
Should
opinion?
I be hitting pause, or is
that your opinion, or is that the official word now?
Well, I think it's important to say that in 28, there's a lot of there's some questions that happen here, in that Johannes Reck said in 2018 that he speculated that in 3 to 4 years' time, which is pretty much now, Get Your Guide Originals would be 50% of their overall revenue. That's a lot. He was feeling very bullish about it. In February of 22, Stephen Joyce spoke with Tao, and he said that things were going well, and he was looking forward to working on Get Your Guide Originals and expanding the program. Felt it was something that they should continue to work on, and now we're hearing they're phasing it out. So why? What worked? What didn't work? And what's next?
And just to answer your question, also, Christian. We do have a direct quote. It's on an Arrival story that was published on November 14. A Get Your Guide spokesperson confirmed that the company is phasing out Originals tours as they have previously existed on the platform, and will evolve the approach in a different way. So that is the current stance of Get Your Guide Originals. And I know there's a lot of people in the industry out there wondering what that next play is going to be for Get Your Guide.
Okay, let's jump over to our guests. We have Jose from Amigo Tours and Stephen from Walks and Devours. Can you guys do a quick intro and maybe 20-second intro each? Jose?
Sure. Jose, CEO of Amigo Tours. We operate over 200 tours and activities in Mexico, New York, Spain, London, Rome. We are very focused on selling B2B. We sell most of the tours through partners like GetYourGuide, Viator, Expedia, etc. And we're in market since 2005, 17 years now.
Jose, about how many passengers travel with Amigo Tours per year?
This 2022 is going to be 2 million passengers.
2 million a year. Okay, so you're what we would consider a large operator.
Yes.
Okay, Stephen.
Yeah, my name's Stephen Oddo. I'm the founder of Walks Tours and president of Walks and Devour as part of City Experiences, which is a collection of land and water-based tours across the globe. So, and we're part of the Hornblower Group, which is a global tour, transport, and experiences company. And I've been in the business of tours and activities since about 2004, when I was guiding tours in Rome. Started at Walks in 2009, joined the Hornblower Group in 2021. So it's been an interesting ride, and we are both a B2C and a B2B. So we sell a lot of the majority of our product is sold directly to the consumer, but we also work a lot with the big distributors that Jose mentioned, GetYourGuides, Viator, TripAdvisor, Expedia, and then the whole collection of other great providers, Head Out, Project Expedition, ATV, you name it. We work with a lot of them, and travel agents as well. So yeah.
And Stephen, if you combine Devour and Walks, ballpark travelers per year?
Yeah, pre-pandemic, we were doing about 500,000 customers combined, maybe a little more. And now we're almost back to that. We're pacing to be above that for next year.
Awesome. And I want to share one more thing. I want you to share. I remember one of the first times I really got to know you was a pub crawl that Christian organized in London. And
yeah, I remember that.
You started talking about how you got into this business. And you just mentioned you were an operator in Rome, but maybe you can go into a little bit more detail. What were you doing?
Yeah, you're calling me out there, Bruce.
A little bit, yeah.
Actually, I started guiding my first tour as a pub crawl leader in my early 20s in Rome. You know, taking hostile people out, and that was a lot of fun. And actually, I really enjoyed learning the history stuff along the way. And some of the people were tour guides, and they said you should probably learn this too. And eventually, I moved from something that wasn't sustainable, which is drinking every night with 20-year-olds, to something a little more sustainable, and had a good business behind it too. So good timing.
Perfect. Well, we all got into this business some way. Absolutely.
Actually, the first business company was a youth hostel too.
There you go.
I started as a youth hostel in Mexico City doing some tours, and yes, it's fun that both businesses start with youth.
I started selling ski trips to college kids 40 years ago.
There you go.
So, you say you've been in the business for a while. I've been in this business for 40 years, and my first part of it was selling ski trips to college kids. I was basically a professional ski bum. So I think a lot of us start that way, right?
We'll do an episode where we can all speak 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, as if we were operating back then.
Right, going back to our prime time. Yeah. All right.
But let's jump to originals. So we just spoke about how they're closing the program down. I think you just said it's 31st of December. Jose was the official date. So have you been operating originals from the start or from early on, and how's it been for you, and how do you see this recent announcement?
We have been operating originals a little bit before the pandemic. I think 8 months before. More or less. We used to run, we still run until until like the end of the end 2022. We run two tours, one in Barcelona, one in Madrid, and they were doing very well. They were doing very good volume passengers. We had a very strong negotiation communication with the team, with GetYourGuide team. I think they put a lot of investment effort in this project. Actually, I love the uniforms and all the training to the guides. And I think it was a very good project. I think it was something that they put their brand in destination. Because sometimes it's difficult for these kind of companies to put the brand in destination, and they achieved that. And actually was a surprise that after all that investment effort from both sides, they just canceled it like with no notice. Well, notice 3 months before, but without telling us like it was not working, or it was or something was not going well. So yes, it was a big surprise, because what we want is volume, and we were receiving that volume. And they want the brand in destination, because sometimes we are the industry of no name. Like sometimes customer doesn't know how they book, and sometimes they do not know who or which company run tour. So I think it's a good project, and yes, we were very surprised in why they canceled this.
Let me ask you a question, Jose.
Yes.
Would you say you were disappointed they canceled it? Were you pissed off that they canceled it because of all the effort you put into? Other than you already said you were surprised, like how else would you describe your response?
Disappointed because all the team put a great effort, both sides. They dedicated a team to train the guides. We had constant training. We were checking all the tours, the routes. All the customers, they were very happy, and it was it was also because we started running this a few months before COVID. So all this effort of keeping the tour live during this huge crisis, keeping it live, and then when we are really seeing very good numbers, now it's done.
Right.
Jose, can you tell me?
Sorry.
Jose, could you please talk a little bit about what the process was for designing the tours? So, did you design the tours, and with their assistance, did they design the product they wanted? What was it about the product that you offered that made it an original?
First, we took an idea, because I know companies like GetYourGuide, they are in hundreds of destinations. We are specialized in the destination. We know the destination. The guides know each route. So we took a tour that works, a tour that really works for the for the client and then redesign it from with all the information that GetYourGuide has. So we put all the process ideas root in a blender and make a great cake.
So you took a tour that you know sells, basically, right? So you
Yes.
took a product that you knew would be popular, that you get sales on, and you tweaked it to essentially come up with something that would be apart from the other product that you sell.
A better
Was
experience for the client, yes.
How was it a better experience? Why was it a better experience?
Something unique for the client.
Like can you give us an example?
Yes, for example, going to some secret places in the city, in Toledo. We had Toledo and Segovia, so making some negotiations with some places to be the only clients or the only travelers in that place. So making it unique. Trying to find that wow factor to the client.
Yeah, I've got an opinion on this, which I'll bring in later, but and it's to do with Viator actually, because I think most people know Viator did this 10 years ago, right? Viator VIP. It's also not really featured now as well, but it was the exact same concept. But let's jump to Stephen if we can, just to get your general opinions. Steve, I know you've got lots of opinions on this subject.
Well, yeah, first to say, I mean, we work really well with GetYourGuide, and they're a great partner of ours. And I always
thanks. Yeah.
well, I mean, I always thought originals was I was a bit surprised, to be honest, because we've worked with a lot of kind of marketplace companies before, and just being familiar with marketplaces at large. Before Walks, I had worked in OTAs in early 2000, and just the idea of an OTA kind of brand stepping into the marketplace was a bit odd for me in particular, just because like it wouldn't happen in hotels, it wouldn't happen in flights. So it was like just odd to see it happen here. Like why here now after these companies have been around doing this kind of thing for a long time? And to be honest, we definitely explored it as an opportunity to potentially get some more volume. As Jose said, volume is definitely a factor. Volume comes at cost in many cases, particularly with distribution. But the cost here was bigger because we were trying to build a brand. So, anybody's trying to build a brand. If you're branding or something, you're branding yourself something else, makes it harder. It's pretty simple. So it's okay if that's a high priority for you to build a brand. Maybe GetYourGuide Originals is not the best direction for you, but it can be great if you're a largely B2B focused company that's focused on volume. So it depends on who you are and what you're trying to be. But for us at the time, it just wasn't a good fit. But not to say that there aren't companies that got good value out of it. I think companies that were trying to build a brand, or companies that had high demand in product that had limited inventory, that GetYourGuide Originals wasn't necessary. And I would actually ask Jose if he's concerned that his volumes will significantly decline because of the originals change, or whether they might stay the same. And I would suspect that not to see a huge decline, because those customers that they're selling aren't going to just all of a sudden disappear from GetYourGuide. They're going to keep buying on GetYourGuide with or without originals, labels on the product. And my guess is that his products will still have very good reviews and keep getting a good channel of sales with or without it. So that's my take on it.
Jose, you got an answer to that?
Yes. Well, I tell you in March or April, but yes, I think
Remains to be seen.
Now that we have a great product with great reviews, yes, I think it's going to keep the same volume, of course.
So why do you think it hasn't worked for GetYourGuide? Let's start with Stephen on that.
Well, I mean, the short version is I think that it's complex. And you just heard from Jose, it takes a lot of energy from both sides. And as I just said, the product may sell anyway. So on the one hand, you might have many of your partners thinking of you as entering the market as a competitor and maybe turning you off to that OTA or to that channel. Is it worth doing that, where it's also costing you significantly more energy, resources, manpower to develop the originals, maintain, train, etc.? The amount of energy being put in versus is something significantly more coming out, or are the same customers on a well-designed landing page with a good sort algorithm going to buy the product anyway, with or without Get Your Guide Originals being there? And I think that hearing them talk about Get Your Guide Originals, specifically Tao and Johannes, over that time, they were often comparing themselves to Amazon Prime or Netflix originals, and I just don't. I never really saw that analogy there, because those are very different product categories. I mean, it's about as different as could be from our sector. So, yeah, I think that's the main reason. I think it's just the amount of energy versus what the gain for them was limited.
And honestly,
like if they want exposure, run an ad. Like you don't need to redesign entire things around
Yeah, from a sales and marketing side, I was looking at this the other day and thinking, really, it's kind of a ingenious way of getting operators to offer you more money, right? It's like you take a tour, you tweak it, and you can reprice it such that you can pay Get Your Guide 30%, 35%, and you don't have to worry about comping over your online price. So in that respect, I think it's a very interesting move on their part. But when I started digging into kind of what is an original, I had a really hard time finding a really good answer to that. I mean, Jose, you've actually given me more of an answer than I ever could have found anywhere. When I looked at their website, when I've looked at a number of things online, I honestly could not get a very good explanation of what an original was. And then when I started comparing some of the originals to tours in that same tour, for instance, in a city, I didn't really see that something was, should be called an original, or why it should be called an original. So I think the marketing of it, perhaps, I'm not sure that it was very well defined.
Yeah. And to your point, Lori, I'd like to.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead, please.
I don't think we want to spend the entire discussion on originals, because there are other efforts out there, and I'd love to get all of your opinions on. TUI Amusement has some branded product that they've had for years. Viator has talked about some of their product that they're branding, and there's other examples, right? And it does come to brand, and I think your point is really well taken, Stephen. I wonder how strong is the Walks and Devour brands. I mean, and you guys have the opportunity to be stronger than any walking tour or food tour company out there. Has it been successful building your own brand? There's a lot of discussion about branding. Christian, what other OTAs have really gone out there and tried to brand their own product? I know
Well, Viator did, but Viator had some in-destination stuff a long time ago, but they did VIP for a long time. They were all about behind the scenes and early access and all of that. I'm somewhat wary of that. I think that made the product managers happy that they got to sit with people and get some special exclusives. I think now they've got a little slider on the extranet, which gets them the same effect, maybe gets them the more commission. But I think TUI's different, right? TUI is a brand that people go on a trip. They go on a 2-week trip with TUI. So it's a trust factor. As much as Get Your Guide and Viator want to be there, they haven't got that brand recognition. So people they go to Google and they search for Colosseum tours, and they might get to Get Your Guide, but they don't know the brand. So when Get Your Guide comes out and says it's a Get Your Guide original, people are thinking, well, I don't even know who Get Your Guide is, never mind one of their originals. This is not Amazon, it's not Netflix, and it's not TUI, unfortunately, as much as they'd like to be there. Look, Klook have talked about it. I saw 2 Klook executives within about a month. One said there's no value whatsoever in originals, and the other one said we might start doing it. So I don't know where Klook are going on it. But I think it's just a general, it's an interesting discussion on where these OTAs are going. Now, the originals thing, I think, is interesting because Get Your Guide hung their hat on it, right? And came out with this 50% thing. So if it's not that, they've got all this money, so what's next? And I don't see a ton of innovation out there. I just see people doing more of the same. We talked last week about ChatGPT with AI. That's going to revolutionize this. I don't want to start talking about that again, but what are the OTAs going to do going forward? How are they going to differentiate themselves?
I don't know. I kind of want to talk about ChatGPT all the time. I didn't know anything
Bruce
about
is
it a week ago.
obsessed.
I didn't know anything about it a week ago.
Obsessed.
Yeah, in my
I
mind,
think
it's,
also-
I am obsessed.
I mean,
Also-
it's so. Sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead, Jose.
Go.
You talk. No, you're the guest.
No, okay, thanks. No, I think the big discussion, like in a board meeting, is like who we are. We are a marketplace, open marketplace, or we want to do curated tours. We have seen very successful companies doing curated. Viator started as that, and then they turned into a huge marketplace. So I think that's the big discussion, is like, we want to go with this kind of tours, or we want to keep our marketplace open with an algorithm that no one understands how it works, and let's keep it as a market that everyone can come in and sell their tours. I think that there is the big discussion in their board meetings, and I think they decided to go into that marketplace,
Which has worked. There's no denying for Viator that's worked, right? The last couple of years of results, it's been outstanding.
yes.
I just feel like, how many tours of the Colosseum do you need to sell? I don't know. I really personally liked the old Viator. I loved the curated model myself. I really did. And as somebody that, as a supplier, I felt like there was, a true partnership there. I really did. And I still think that exists if you're a bigger player. But this idea of having, just multiple tours of one, attraction or experience, how does the customer even begin to determine what to do with any of that? I don't know.
You said there's some other efforts out there. Sorry to interrupt there, Jose. Because I'm not aware of who's doing a lot of curating, except I know Head Out is. They've got a really interesting model. And if we're going to have a discussion about curated versus marketplace, we definitely need to have Head Out on here. And I'm sure they love it.
Civitatis is doing
Civitatis is doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing curated tours, and it's very difficult to get your tour in their website, and they check every review, and they take care of each customer, and they are doing very, very well, and they do not get their clients confused about seeing 500 tours to the Vatican or Colosseum.
Yeah.
I'd argue, I just checked today, I think everyone always checks Rome. There's 5,000 experiences on Viator today in Rome, and there's 800 or 900 on GetYourGuide. Same. I don't care if there's 900 or 5,000. I'm only going to look through the top 20. So I think once you get past 20 or 30, really, what's the difference? And it's all about filters and search, and that's curation. I don't think of curation as rewriting a description. Curation is serving up the products based on filters and searches, and the same thing you do for a hotel. That's what I don't think they've done well at. You can have 5,000, but just show me 20 based on something.
But it's very different. A tour that you can find maybe 100 exactly the same, or a Hilton, Marriott that they are unique. You can find 20 Hiltons in a destination, but it's 20 different Hiltons in different locations offering different services.
And the difference being that you might have one boutique hotel like a Kimpton in that same destination, and it serves a different need. Like, you know, the big brand serving the replicated product that's very similar and consistent. You know, it's different than having a premium brand who caters to a more sophisticated audience. So, I mean, I think back to Christian's point about curation, I think that's what built the Viator brand for so many years. I think it was because of the curation, that they were synonymous with quality, and that they're the only of the distributors here today where anybody says, I take a Viator tour. Like, I buy my tours from Viator. I mean, that is a very common refrain. Everybody hears it who works in this business. You don't hear it from the other distributors. So, you know, the value of what they built, they clearly then ported that onto a marketplace, which of course, because they had this huge amount of goodwill and direct traffic, that they could develop from that and then supercharged by TripAdvisor. So, I mean, it was a winning strategy, but I do think that it was diluted by that at a certain point because it became more marketplace driven, less quality driven, thousands of results per property. And I think it's interesting to see them kind of shifting back to some degree now. The Viator brand is stronger than ever on all of their pages. They've, you know, really put a lot of focus into that, and they're highlighting brands on the Viator results now more than they ever used to. So you're seeing the branding coming through for, particularly for operators who care about that. But in a lot of their results pages, you see it now in a way that it might have been hidden before. So I think we are going the other direction. And I think that's a good thing for suppliers for sure, for operators.
So I've got a challenge on this subject. I'm going to start with you, Stephen. I want to go around the table, see who can handle it. So you take over as CEO of, let's say, GetYourGuide tomorrow morning. What are the three things you'd do? The three strategies, the three directions, three changes you'd make? What would you do tomorrow morning, Stephen?
That's a tough one. You know, I think they have a very good product. I think that it should be partnership based. Yeah, no, so I think it's develop more partners with non-travel industry, you know, folks. So let's say non-tours and activities, getting customers from captive markets. So banks, from loyalty programs, from other places that there are captive groups of customers. And that personally, that's why I think TUI is a smart move with amusement. I think they're doing kind of exactly that.
That's one.
I think they need more, a much better advertising than they're doing. I mean, they had some interesting things. Maybe
they're wrapping buses in Berlin, right?
Yes,
I mean,
they're
the hop-on buses in
boats
Berlin are Get Your Guide.
I took a picture of a Venice boat wrapped in Get Your Guide. Again, though, I don't know that is the best way to do it. You know, I don't know if that's the moment to build the brand when they're already there. They've already bought that thing. You know, it may be a bit late.
Well, you'd rather spend $100 million on Google?
I would think higher funnel than the actual destination where they want their customers to buy. Maybe it isn't. It's too late at that point. You know. And so
I'm going to challenge that. So is it like
number three? I would drop the efforts to become like also a hosted website for operators platform. I think that's a red herring. I think I've seen something or heard something about that recently. Like I'll be your ticketing site too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was weird that you know, you see some of that in like with Peak. I thought that was a bit odd. So I think that's the wrong direction for them to kind of try to become the same. You know, we'll be both your operator website and your distribution. I don't know. Like no hotel would be like, yeah, Expedia, you could be also my entire res system. It's like there, you lost your ability to yield manage with that.
Yeah, that's a weird direction. Bruce, you're obviously vocal on this. So what are your top three?
Well, I forget which one I was totally going against that Stephen said in the middle.
Something about giving money to Google. You weren't keen on.
Yeah, you rather. So you're saying they should advertise more? I mean, they already spend millions and millions with Google. So you would take some of that.
I didn't say on Google. I just said higher funnel, maybe on content.
Higher the funnel. Oh no, then you said, but why wrap a bus in Berlin or you know, some kind of local thing? Well, because if I'm in Berlin and I've done one activity, and maybe I booked it on Get Your Guide, and I see this ad, and it's Get Your Guide. Yeah, I just had a great experience with him. Stephen just bailed out. I guess he didn't like me challenging his topic.
No,
You know,
He's back
but
to his party now, I
people
think.
do multiple things in destination, like multiple experiences. So one day they might do a ho-ho, and then one day they might go to a museum, and one day they might do something, you know, on a walking tour or a food tour. So why not advertise in destination is my point. I totally agree with Stephen that the idea of creating some kind of res tech is to me is a red herring. Forget your guide to do, just like I don't understand why Peak has a marketplace. Like that to me also makes very little sense. Like Peak has, I don't know how many, let's call it 5,000 operators on their Peak Pro. That's just not enough to create a marketplace. And I think that's just as much a mistake, but that wasn't the question. The other thing that you asked, so you said 3 things that you would do as the new CEO of GetYourGuide. I would really put the effort into account management. I definitely feel like that is the weakness of the big OTAs, is investing enough in account management. So letting their accounts, other than just the big guys, we know that they're spending time with the big guys, but how do they get enough time to spend with the medium guys, especially if not the smaller ones? And we know there's some OTAs that are not good at that at all. I don't know enough to know how good GetYourGuide is or not, but I don't think the discussion here is really GetYourGuide. I think it's OTA. And I believe strongly that there needs to be more investment in account management. So that's kind of
that's your one, because you've
That's
talked
a good one,
so
Chris.
long, you only get one.
so that's my one. What?
Well, Jose, have you got your top 3?
Okay, first I will do a more curated model. I will cut, again, half of the tours that are very similar and focus a lot in content of the tours, pictures, etc. I will explore more business in tourism, like Klook. If you go to Bangkok, to Tokyo, to all these destinations, you see Klook in restaurants, you see Klook in transportation, you see Klook
Airports
everywhere.
they're all over airports. Yep.
Yeah, so create more the brand, not only in tours activities, but in try to maybe buy company like Devour or something, like to get more into that. Obviously, then it doesn't help the GetYourGuide name, because it has the guide, but maybe it can be a guide of restaurants, whatever. So they can have a better presence of the brand in destination. And I will take 10 or 15 tour operators to a weekend or week meeting, and yeah, have some drinks, of course.
Yeah, get them all drunk, Jose. Get them all
Yes.
drunk, and then
And
they'll think really highly of them.
And to rebuild the GetYourGuide originals.
Laurie,
I
what
think
is it?
that in a long,
I'll go,
Bring back originals.
I'll go very fast because I know we're running out of time here. So, well, Jose stole a bit of my thunder. I was going to say take a playbook from Klook. They're blanketing all of APAC, and I think GetYourGuide could do the same with Europe. I think that they should do some kind of a loyalty program with a very well-known and well-respected credit card company, a bank. I think that's working brilliantly for Hopper, and I think that's something that they should consider. And I also think they should go back to a more curated model, and or concentrate and develop a program specifically for SMEs, whether it's a training, learning program, but some type of loyalty type program for SMEs to build up those businesses.
Interesting. So I'm going to go against the grain here. I would go full marketplace and build proper curation tools instead of this curation thing, because I don't think it matters if there's 5,000 or 200. It's all about presenting the top ones based on that customer. I also quite like the local thing, the wrap in the bus. You know, I would like that, but I think they could make more of an impression locally for those local books. I think there's a gap there. There's no brands locally. Expedia did it for a while, but not really using their brand. I think there's still a gap there, but interesting. And I think we're going to have a future discussion, right, Laurie, on Hopper and some of their gamification and loyalty, and that's a really interesting topic. Let's finish though just with a couple of recent fundraisers that happened this week or late last week. Have you got those, Laurie? Yeah.
You guys have a few more minutes. This is we'll just wrap it up. But while we have you, we'd love to see if you have an opinion on this, whether you've even heard about all these, because I haven't. So, Laurie, you wanna kick that off?
Yeah. So, Resort Pass just landed a $26 million Series B raise. This is a company that basically specializes in selling day passes to resorts. So you can use the spa, you can use the pool, in some cases a meeting room, for instance, workspace, a day use of a hotel room, and they offer product really all over the place. Interestingly enough, a couple of their investors were Gwyneth Paltrow and Jessica Alba, so they have a bit of celebrity in there as well. They've raised a total of $37 million, and I actually like it. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea for locals that just they want a bit of a holiday, but they don't really want to or don't have the money to go anywhere. So I thought that was interesting. Christian,
let me tell you a quick story. It's a quick story. So I was flying back from IPW 5 years ago, sat next to this kid. We started talking. He was in the industry, and I think he was 19. He dropped out of Harvard, I think, or something. And he started a company called Daycation, and it was the same space. Anyway, he was impressive, and I said to this kid after a minute, I said, "Have you ever watched the thing called Forbes 30 Under 30, where they take the kids dropped out of college and they create a TV show and they start companies?" And he said, "Yeah, I was on the show." I thought it was just wild. So he's in this exact space. I'm not sure how he's doing. Hopefully, he's doing well as well. But it's an interesting space, this hotel, because they take the hotel rooms and the facilities which are not being used during the day or not being marketed or monetized, and they're basically selling excess capacity.
What are the hours? Like, what's check in and check out for that?
Well, it depends upon the resort. I checked a few in New York City, and they really, the hours could be 10 to 2, 10 to 4, 9 to 5. They had different pricing for, whatever hours you wanted. This is not the first
hour, actually. Yeah.
There's a company called dayuse.com, which I actually have used a number of times when I fly into London and I can't check into my hotel until 2 or 3 o'clock. I grab a hotel at the airport for 3 or 4 hours, take a nap, a shower, and I'm on my way. And they charge you about, it's less than half of what it would cost for the hotel. So it's a pretty good deal overall. Another one, Christian, is there one you wanted to mention, or I don't want to rain on your parade here?
No, you go for it, Laurie.
Okay. Evaneos raised 20 million euros. This is all about tailor-made experiences. They're using destination management companies within a destination to help customers kind of curate and tailor make their own trips. They're all about sustainability. So they're working with properties and companies that are addressing sustainable solutions, and they're actually a B Corp as well. So that's really cool to see. And then I guess the last one I saw that I thought was cool is Welcome Pickups. Just raised another 5.3 million euros. They're out of Athens, Greece. This is a company that basically their core product are transfers, right? So you get picked up by a chauffeur, a private driver, driven to your hotel or your Airbnb. But in addition to that, you can also book sightseeing rides, they call it, where you'll have, your own private experience. And I think it's a great idea, because how many times have you been, somewhere and you have a driver and you say, "Hey, by the way, can you also take us to XYZ because we really need that tour?" And then, so you sort of, it gives you that solution there. Anyway, those are the three I thought were probably most
It's an interesting one to get funded, isn't it? The Evaneos, whatever it's called. That's an interesting one. That was I don't know if it was a down round, but it was the same investors and it was less than the last round, which I think is just a sign of
And that is a multi-day company, right? They sell
Yeah.
multi-day primarily.
I think it's
So
just decided
Stephen
as-
or Jose, opinions on any of those? Are you familiar with those companies? Any thoughts on them?
Yeah,
No,
I'm actually.
first.
Go ahead,
Sorry,
Jose.
sorry. First one, I didn't hear about it. It's very interesting also for tourists. No, only locals. Tourists that go to a house Airbnb and they want to experience different resorts, hotels. I think it's a great product. The rest I didn't hear about it. I heard the news, but not about these companies.
Stephen, you had something?
Yeah. Well, actually, I met somebody from one of those, either vacation or resort pass, at an arrival like a number of years ago. Because I remember hearing this kind of pitch. I think it's interesting. Definitely, I mean, there's a lot of kind of versions of these pass type companies. There was one for gyms, one for kind of other various kind of classes, spas. It seems like another application. There's definitely a market for it. You know, I used something like this recently at the TSA hotel over in the airport in New York. That they have that service themselves. So it kind of begs the question: like, do you need a third party to do this, or is the demand already there to then be moved if there's actually value to this through OTAs, through Hotel Tonight, through Airbnbs, and like, do you need an entirely new company to service this, or does this become something that just becomes an option when you're on your OTA? So to me, I'd be concerned about the longer term, because if not every hotel is going to do this, but the ones that do are going to turn it into a model, and that model, if it's replicable, will be mostly cannibalized by. I just don't think you need an independent site that you go to for that as soon as it becomes something that's an option on an OTA. So I don't know how much of a moat there is behind it, but interesting for the moment. Everything else, I've seen them. You were right, Christian. They raised more than this the last time, a few years ago. I don't know as much about multi-day, so I can't really say too much about that. But the third one is, I actually read that 2 days ago or whatever, when that news came out on Welcome. I think it's interesting, in the world of Uber, Lyft, and every other, kind of pickup option, to go, hey, let's go all in on a branded custom thing that has an experience component to it. Uber did have for a few years, they were trying different tour plus experience options, and they didn't continue it for whatever reason. So like, I was concerned about it at the time. They were doing like Uber Tour in Rome. It's like, oh gosh, that could be powerful. But so I don't know if you can be both really good at pickups. I mean, we used to offer pickups, and it was just a huge other type of business who decided it's not a good focus. So doing that and then saying, and we sprinkle activities and stuff on top, I would rather focus on being a really great, direct to consumer pickups business versus saying, and we're going to make more because we'll sell other things. Like, I start to kind of get lost at that point.
I think
there is a room for it.
Yeah, I think there's literally that two things. So Uber did do a deal with Viator, right? So we all know that. So they are now back in that day tour business through their connection with Viator, I think, and that could be the subject of another show for sure. And I think there's a lot of different opinions about that. And what I hear about a lot of these startups raising a lot of this money, it sounds to me more like products than companies, right? Like, this is a product. It's not a company. Evenios, that's a company that has a lot of things behind them. Welcome Pickup seems to me like a product. Like, they are their product is their transfer company, and now they have this other product that is about adding on to that. And I think the same thing, especially with the room company, whoever, I'm sorry, I don't know.
What's wrong with that? Their product is their operation. It's still a viable cut. It's not what you'd normally see VC raises.
Right. I don't think
right?
I don't think you build a company based on one product, and I think too many companies try to do that. Like
I was
I don't, and as
surprised
Steven
about
said,
that.
the idea of doing a intermediary for booking a hotel room by the day. I mean, Marriott could come in and say they're doing it, and that company goes away, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
but
that's it.
I-
It's not
About
different enough
the-
to their business model. Their business model already is providing the room and the cleaning, and they're already providing the facility, and they're already providing the spa. So it's not like that. None of those things are added value versus like, in this case, the transfer. Yeah, like they're very specifically competing with maybe businesses that don't have a brand, or they're like Super Shuttle, where the brand is a bit old, right? Like, if you start to think of
that's-
pickups companies beyond Uber, Welcome has a model. I think it makes sense to be in that business to try to elevate and be a
I
little
will
more
retract that
premium.
statement on welcome pickups. Yes.
Yeah, they have
Okay.
to spend the money on getting the message out there. They have to work on their app, and they have to use some of that money to brand and improve the app for sure.
No, so I stand corrected. I thank you for that. But I do think there's too many startups that basically say, this is our company. And I look at it, it's like, this looks like a product, and get some more product, guys. So we are pretty much out of
Fair
time.
Yeah.
Because who knows how many people are really going to sit through 45 minutes of this.
We may have lost them a while back, Bruce, but oh well, we had a good chat.
On the note of the last, as we wrap up here, we haven't talked about this, but we will do some pitch sessions as part of this show. So if you're a startup, if you're just starting out, or you're trying to do a raise, or you're trying to grow, reach out to us and we'll do some pitches. We're not sure of the format yet, but I think that would be a good way to format a couple of shows.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone should stay tuned. Whatever channel it is you're going to find this on, whether it's a podcast channel, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever it is, we're going to hope to get there soon. And thanks for listening. Thank you, Stephen and Jose, especially, for joining in this experiment called Experience.This. And until next time, thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.